They tell you, expect your husband to die. As a military spouse, you know that it's a possibility, but you almost bury that. I remember feeling like deep in my chest that day that something was wrong. And I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I truly felt like he wasn't coming home. My husband was a Black Hawk crew chief, and he was also Special Forces. Usually you have a couple months to prepare for a deployment, or you know that it's coming, but with my husband in the particular unit he was in, it was usually a 30 minutes or less notice. We were just out having a family day. On the way, his phone rang. We just turned the car around and went home for him to grab his go bag and get to the compound. When my husband had gone into this unit in March of that year, I developed a really intense death anxiety around his job. And it got so intense that I started having panic attacks when he would fly or when a flight would go a little longer than I thought that it should. So when we got the call for him to go on that deployment, that anxiety resurged to the surface, and I had a very hard time over the next couple days. But as the days went on and he called me every single day, that anxiety kind of dwindled a little bit. I still had this very uneasy feeling in my stomach, but I was getting that call every day, and I just kept telling myself, he's survived 100% of his flights this far, and that's just kind of what I held on to. November the 10th, 2023 started out like any other day for me. He FaceTimed me around 11 a.m. that morning. I went on with my day. Around 7:30 that night, which is when he would usually call, I didn't panic when I didn't hear from him. I just figured I would hear from him whenever they landed. Then 9:30 came and I started to really get worried, and that's when I started kind of blowing up his phone. None of my messages were delivering to him, and I was really starting to panic. We had like a window glass pane in the door, and I caught a little bit of movement, and about the time I turned to look to see what I saw, I heard the knock. It was an officer and a chaplain, and I remember the officer looking at me and saying, "Are you Ashley Southard, wife of Sergeant Andrew Southard?" I said yes, and I actually don't remember what happened next. I don't remember hearing him tell me that he was dead. I felt like I checked out of my body entirely. My husband died in November of 2023. I did not get the investigation into how and why until October of 2024. They were training, a routine training exercise, and the pilots were spatially disoriented. They were over water at night. My husband died along with 4 other crew members. I do not blame those pilots. They were the most skilled, most trained, the best of the best. I know they wanted to come home just as bad as my husband did.